My mother raised her glass of red wine in the Palacio Dorado restaurant in Manhattan, in front of 42 guests dressed in tuxedos, and said out loud, with that smile I had known since I was 5 years old, "I toast to my daughter Elena, who chose to marry the one who smells like flour instead of a surgeon." The glasses remained suspended in the air. The waitress, a girl of about 22 years old, lowered her gaze. My uncle Sebastian let out a short nervous laugh that died after 3 seconds. And my husband Diego, with his grey suit borrowed from his cousin, put his hand over mine under the white linen tablecloth. He said nothing, only squeezed twice. "My name is Elena Vargas. I am 34 years old." That night, the 9th of March, at table number 7 of a restaurant where the tasting menu cost $95 per person, my mother decided to humiliate the man with whom I had been married for 4 years. And I want you to know what happened when 8 months later there arrived a white envelope with the golden seal of the White House at our apartment in Queens. Before I tell you what that letter said, and I swear I read it out loud 3 times because my hands were shaking too much to trust my eyes. Subscribe, give it a like and tell me in the comments if your parents publicly humiliated the love of your life in front of the whole family. Would you invite your parents when life gave you back the reason, or would you close that door forever? Because what happened next changed everything. This is how I got here. I grew up in a house of 4,600 square feet in Short Hills, New Jersey, with 6 white columns at the entrance and a gardener named Esteban who came on Tuesdays and Fridays. My father, Don Javier Castillo, is an interventional cardiologist at the Academia Real Hospital. My mother, Carmen Castillo, was president for 12 years of the Latin Ladies Club of New Jersey. My older brother, Alejandro, graduated from Wharton in 2011 and today is vice president of investments at Goldman Sachs. My younger sister Valeria married a Colombian orthopedist in a wedding of 400 guests at the luxurious Plaza Hotel that cost $280,000. The rules of my house were never written, but I learned them before I was 10 years old. On Sundays at 1:15 in the afternoon, formal lunch in the main dining room. It is served on the Billeroi and Bock china, never the everyday one. The men in the family had to have a professional degree, doctor, lawyer, engineer or banker. The women could work, but we had to marry up. My mother used that phrase, exactly that one, since I was 14 years old. Elena, a smart woman, always marries up. The first time I felt that something was twisted in my house, I was 16 years old. My paternal grandmother, Rosa, was dying of pancreatic cancer in the St. Vincent Hospice. My mother refused to go visit her because, she said literally while she was painting her lips in front of the mirror of her vanity, "This place smells like poor people." My father did not go either. I went alone in an Uber on Sunday afternoons for 11 weeks. My grandmother held my hand and told me, "Elena, when you find someone who looks at you as if you were the only person in the room, do not let him go for anything in the world. Not for your mother, not for this house." She died on the 4th of November 2007 at 3:47 in the morning. I had her hand in mine. I met Diego on a Tuesday the 16th of April 2019. At 6:22 in the morning. I had entered a small bakery on 47th Street in Queens. The Golden Loaf Bakery. Because my office was 2 blocks away and I had forgotten to have breakfast. He was behind the counter with a white apron stained with flour on the elbows, a small tattoo of a bread on his left forearm, and he was fixing the scarf of an older lady who could barely stand on her feet. The lady said to him, "Diego, my son, I do not have the $3 today." And he replied, "Mrs. Sophia, today the house invites. Tomorrow you tell me how the dulce de leche with the bread turned out." I stood at the door for 5 minutes watching him work. He did not see me. He was not acting for anyone. Diego was 31 years old when we met. He had arrived from Medellin at the age of 14 with his mother, Sophia, who cleaned houses in Long Island. He started working in bakeries at 15. At 28 he opened the Golden Loaf Bakery with a loan of $42,000 from the Small Business Administration. He made yuca bread, bono bread, almojábanas and a sourdough bread that fermented for 36 hours. He did not finish university. His spelling in English sometimes failed, and he was the most decent man I had known in my life. I introduced him to my parents on the Sunday the 22nd of December 2019 at the formal lunch. Diego arrived with a bouquet of supermarket sunflowers from Stop and Shop and a sourdough bread wrapped in brown paper. My mother received the bouquet with 2 fingers as if it were a dirty object, and put it on the entrance table without water. During the lunch, my father asked, "Diego, and what do you do?" Diego replied calmly, "I have a bakery in Queens, sir, small still, but growing." My father smiled without smiling and said, "Ah, you are a baker, how original." My brother Alejandro laughed. My sister Valeria looked at her plate. My mother, serving herself more wine, said, "Elena, darling, do you know that Dr. Arboleda, the son of Mercedes, has just finished his residency at Johns Hopkins? Mercedes asked about you just yesterday." I answered, "Mom, I am with Diego." My mother did not look at me. She said to Diego directly, "I hope you understand that this is probably a phase. Elena has always been the rebel." Diego left the fork on the plate. He said nothing, finished chewing. He cleaned his lips with the napkin and with a voice softer than my mother said, "Mrs. Carmen, I love your daughter and I plan to love her the rest of my life. Whether it is a phase for you or not." We got married on the 14th of June 2020 in the backyard of Diego's mother's house with 62 guests. An arch of flowers that our friend Penelope made with sunflowers and eucalyptus, and a taco buffet that cost $90 in total. My parents did not go. My mother said on the phone the night before, "Elena, if you marry that boy, do not count on us for anything, neither now nor later." I told her, "All right, Mom." And I hung up. During the following 4 years, my mother called me exactly 3 times. The first, the 15th of August 2021, to tell me that the son of Dr. Arboleda had married a Harvard lawyer and that I was still in time to fix my life. The second at Christmas of 2022 to ask me to go without Diego. The third on the 9th of March 2024 to invite us to my father's 70th birthday at the Palacio Dorado. She said, "Can you bring your husband? But please tell him to dress appropriately and not to talk about flour at the table." I wanted to believe that something had changed. That was the night of the toast. The night when my mother in front of 42 people said, "The one who smells like flour." I stood up from the table, took my glass and said in a low but clear voice, "Diego smells like honest work, something that perhaps in this family we no longer recognize." I left the full glass, took my purse and we walked out under the rain down 51st Street to the subway. That night I did not cry. Diego did not either. On the F train he took my hand and told me, "Elena, I am fine. Are you fine?" I nodded. He kissed my forehead and told me something I will never forget. "What your mom does not understand is that the flour washes off. The cruelty does not." 3 weeks later, the 1st of April 2024, Diego received an email from the United States Department of Agriculture. He had been contacted by a coordinator named Dana Whitfield. It said that the Golden Loaf Bakery had been nominated along with other 100 bakeries of immigrants across the country to the Bread of the Americas program. Bakers who build community. The program was an initiative of the First Lady. Diego almost deleted the email. He thought it was a scam. I called Dana at the official number. It was real. On the 15th of May 2024, a team of 3 people came to the bakery with cameras. They interviewed Diego for 4 hours. They interviewed Mrs. Sophia, Mrs. Gabriela from the building across the street, Mr. Chen from the laundry, teacher Ramirez, who brought her students on Fridays to learn to make bread for free. All said the same thing, with different words, that Diego fed the neighborhood literally. On the 12th of September 2024 the letter arrived. A thick white envelope with the golden seal of the White House in relief. Diego passed it to me with trembling hands. I opened it at the table of our kitchen next to a cup of coffee with milk and read out loud. "Dear Mr. Vargas, in the name of the President and the First Lady of the United States, we have the honor to inform you that you have been selected as one of the 12 national honorees of the Bread of the Americas program. Your story of community service, artisanal excellence and silent generosity represents the best of this country. You will be recognized in a private ceremony in the Rose Garden of the White House on the 7th of November 2024. You may bring up to 6 guests. Attached, by initiative of your community, you will find copies of the 183 letters from your neighbors that were sent in support of your nomination. 183 letters from people he had fed without charging them. From mothers who received free bread on Mondays. From children who learned to make almojábanas on Fridays." Diego sat on the kitchen floor. He cried for 20 minutes without stopping. I sat beside him and cried with him. I posted a photo of the letter on Instagram that same night at 10:14 in the evening with a short phrase to my husband. The one who smells like flower. By midnight it had 3,200 likes. By Sunday morning 180,000. By Monday 5.3 million views on TikTok, where my cousin Lucia had shared it with the original audio of my mother's toast. Recorded without my knowledge by my uncle Sebastian. The comments did not stop. A woman named Esperanza wrote, "My family threw me out in 2019 for marrying a mechanic. Today we have 2 children and I am the happiest in the world. Thank you for reminding me why I said yes." A famous chef from New York with 600,000 followers shared the story and wrote, "This is the American dream, not the other one." On Tuesday the 15th of October my mother called me. I did not answer. She left a voice message of 47 seconds. It started like this. "Elena, I think there has been a very unfortunate public misunderstanding and I am worried about how this can affect the family reputation." I deleted the message, not because I was angry. Because it no longer hurt. That same night I found a letter that my grandmother Rosa had written in the hospice 3 weeks before she died. My aunt Marcella had kept it in a shoebox for 17 years and sent it to me by mail when she saw the news on Univision. The letter was handwritten with blue ink on a lined notebook sheet. It said, "My Elena, if you are reading this it is because life gave you a big test and probably your mother was part of that test. Do not hate her. She was also raised by people who measured love in dollars. But you are different. I asked God every night to send you a man with dirty hands and a clean heart. A man who would look you in the eyes. When you find him, hold him tight. And when the world finally sees what you always saw, remember this old woman who loved you first, your grandmother Rosa." I sat on the floor of the hallway. I cried for 1 hour. I could not speak. Diego arrived from the bakery, found me there and sat with me without asking anything. I passed him the letter. He read it and told me, "Your grandmother asked God for my hands, Elena, before I even existed." I framed the letter. I hung it next to the White House letter on the wall of our kitchen. On the 7th of November 2024 we went to Washington. Diego took as guests his mother Sophia, Mrs. Sophia, Mr. Chen, Teacher Ramirez, my aunt Marcella and me. My parents were not invited. The First Lady hugged Diego for 6 seconds. He cried. I cried. Mrs. Sophia cried so much that a Secret Service agent passed her a cloth handkerchief. Today the Golden Loaf Bakery has 3 branches. The Rosa Foundation, which we founded with half of the prize, gives bakery scholarships to children of immigrants. We have graduated 27 students. My niece Isabella, 7 years old, the daughter of Valeria, asked me last month in the kitchen while kneading bread with Diego, "Aunt Elena, why does grandmother Carmen never come?" I answered, "Because grandmother is still learning something that you already know, my love." She nodded very seriously and said that Uncle Diego is the best. And she kept kneading. My mother wrote me a letter in January, 3 pages. It did not say sorry, but it said, "I miss you." I answered with 1 line. "Mom, the door is open. The price of entering is to treat Diego like what he is." My husband has not crossed the door yet. Perhaps one day he will. Perhaps not. I learned at 34 years old in a kitchen that smells like flour and coffee with a letter from the White House next to a letter written by hand by a woman who loved me before I could speak. That true love never smells like expensive perfume. It smells like honest work, and once you recognize it, it can no longer be confused with anything else. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next story.